Welcome back to the Inspired Magazine podcast. Here comes a new week with a new episode of Inspiring Founder Stories, and I am so happy to introduce you today to Ashlee Barclay, who is the founder and designer of Admiral Landings Designs. Ashlee describes her brand as an intersection between tradition and innovation in the art of lampshade craftsmanship. I think this is really interesting because, first of all, I never had a lampshade designer on my interview or on my podcast. And also, I think her story is pretty interesting, especially for new starters, because she turns like not only a passion into like a really cool and unique product, but she also had her mom coming along. But before I dig deeper into the story, please welcome Ashlee to the podcast. I am so happy to have you on today and learn everything about you and the story of your brand.
Well, I am so happy to be here. I'm really excited about this and just kind of fleshing out who Admiral Landing or what Admiral Landings is and who's behind it.
Yeah, and I bet there is a lot to tell, like with every brand. Like there is always, and they're always very unique, the stories. That's why I love them. So, Ashlee, let's start here. So, on your website, you say the name Admiral Landings holds a special significance to us. It represents the humble beginnings of our startup, your startup, born in Ashlee's kitchen with the warmth of her home. So tell us about those humble beginnings and the newbie entrepreneur Ashlee who tries to set a foot in this industry.
Yes. So we as in I, literally started right in my kitchen. And I'm actually kind of still there. Um, so Admiral Landings is a twist, a little small twist on where I live. And so that's where that name came from. And my husband is in a career that allows us or causes us to move quite a bit. So
Mhm.
I wanted my brand and my business to be something to represent, like I said, where it started, where everything started. Um, just hold that, it holds a pretty big significance to me.
Yeah. So where's your background? What did you do before? Did you have any entrepreneurial experience? Did you have any, I don't know, family members who were like, Ashlee, this is how you do it, like learn from my mistakes, or was everything like, dive deep and see what sticks?
Oh, oh, how I wish I did have that background or someone close to me did. Um, no, I was an elementary school teacher for 8 years. And in that passion, I always wanted to help people.
Hmm.
I never wanted to really become a principal or anything like that. I wanted to help children. Once I did that, I really became interested in helping other teachers do their jobs better. So I kind of took the path of working one-on-one with teachers and teaching professional developments. When I got married, my husband's career took me 10 hours away from home. He's a college football coach, so we moved quite a bit. So it was very hard to keep up with the certification
I guess would
of,
have been like military or something, but I didn't even think about college football
yes,
coaching.
yeah, it's very similar in the way that we move. We were for the first, wow, maybe the first 5, 6 years of our marriage, we were like 2 years here, 2 years here, 2 years here,
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
going. So that made it really hard to keep up with the certification of teaching. So I ended up staying home with after the birth of our first daughter. She's 10, so decided to stay home with her. Then I went into the fitness journey after my second daughter. I had a really rough pregnancy with her. Went to a fitness journey again with the intention of helping people.
Hmm.
Um, because I had felt so bad from that pregnancy and getting into fitness, I felt so incredibly good. And I'm like, everybody has to experience this. Um,
Hmm.
so then life keeps happening while I'm there, not able to keep up with that because it takes me out of the home. I've now got a dog, two daughters at home. COVID hits 2020, and now I'm homeschooling my oldest for kindergarten. So I wasn't able to keep up with the demands of working outside the home with a
Hmm.
toddler, homeschooling, dog,
Oh
husband
boy.
gone all the time.
That sounds
Didn't
a
work. So
very tacted, like day, like, okay, when do I even go to the bathroom? Like something like this.
Yes, it's definitely that kind of day, that kind of day. Um, so still just needing something, but again, we're fast forward all the way to end of 2023. Um, the lampshade business gets kind of started. I officially started in 2024 with the intention of helping people.
Mhm.
Um, Helping people just discover an overlooked home accessory that I felt like, wow, how has it been overlooked this long? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, there's just white and cream and beige lampshades
Those
everywhere. And of
typical
course, I didn't
IKEA
notice
things
it
you
before, but
see. Those
yes.
typical IKEA
So
things you
it's
see,
like,
right?
yeah. So again, with the intention of helping people, that's where Admiral Landings kind of got started.
That's
And that's the
awesome.
direction I'm
But
still
so
going.
how do you decide on lampshades? I mean, I would think that this is not really the closest thing you would think about when you say, oh, I want to start a business or I want to be creative. Like, why lampshades? Why not, you know, couch covers? Or I don't know.
It, yeah, well, it came out of a personal need, because we had built our home and had designed everything, but it was just something missing. And I kept looking and
Mhm.
looking. And of course, he was tired of me spending money and doing things. I'm like, something is missing.
Mhm.
And I just needed that pop of something. And I noticed I did have a lot of lamps, a lot of sconces that we had put in the house. And they were all the same. Like the bases were beautiful. The sconces themselves, the lamp bases themselves were gorgeous, but they each had big white lampshades on all of them. And some of them actually blended into the wall. So I was like, okay, I'll just, search for those. Google's our best friend. It took me to all these beautiful lampshades. They were primarily in the UK. Um, and either they were way too expensive or they just wouldn't ship here. So that got my brain going, and I put social media down for a while and just went in on crafting, not
Mhm.
really expecting it to be a business. I was
Mhm.
crafting it for myself. Um,
That's awesome. Did you have
and
any
then I'm
experience
like,
in how to use a sewing machine, or what was your first design? Like, what did it look like?
it looked absolutely horrid.
Mhm.
It was horrible. I'm going to be completely transparent and honest. It was not anything that I would even remotely consider selling
Consider
or
buying or consider
to anybody.
selling.
Yeah. Not even set like no, but I got hooked because I did notice how overlooked that particular home accessory was.
Mhm.
Because I had just thrown myself into learning about interior design through the process of our home building, which took about a year. And I was just like engulfed with it. I just wanted more and more. I wanted to learn. And it was just the one thing that nobody seemed to care about. Um, so I'm like, well, I'm going to care.
Mhm.
I took a lot of pride in the lighting. I said, it's just an untapped part of the interior design industry. So let me dig a little deeper. Let me practice. Let me hone my skill. And then once I finally got it to where it was presentable, I got a lot of positive response. Family, friends, neighbors. My neighbors were the first ones to want me to make theirs before I started the business. So
That's
that's where
really
it
interesting. I just imagine right now like a neighbor peeking through your window, being jealous about your interior designs, saying, "Hey, I want that too. Can you please make me one?"
came.
Like those creepy
Yeah,
neighbors you don't want to meet, right?
yeah. So they were awesome. They were ready to go and ready to give me a shot at designing some for their homes, and that's where it really started.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about your process. I mean, I see now behind you, there's obviously different styles, like different textures, colors. Like some of them are really like poppy, and then the other ones are more like what you would call like a probably like a grandma lampshade or something.
Yeah,
How do
exactly.
you know what you want especially if no one has done it before? Like, are you scrolling Pinterest a lot, for example, and say like, hey, this maybe this would look good in like this in this environment? Or are you getting inspired by interior designers, how they decorate their room first and say, okay, I could make a lampshade that would fit in that space. Like, what's your process behind it?
In the beginning, it was just I fell in love with the fabrics.
Mhm.
Just using, I do use unconventional upholstery grade fabrics. So the ones that I was really seeing a lot of when I was going on Google looking for myself were more of the gathered lampshades, which take a thinner material like your silks, your satins, your thinner cottons, your linens, and they were gathered, which is just like this one or this one. Um, but I am very bold in my design. And I was like, I want something like it, but bolder, to
Mhm.
make it mine. And that's where I kind of tapped into the upholstery grade fabrics, which are pretty heavy. And most people would not put them on a lampshade because they typically go on your drapes or your couches or chairs. But that's what all of these are. So this is
Mhm.
like drapery material that I've put and just done the hand pleat, and I hand pleat every single one and put that on
Wow.
there with the
Wow.
trims and just playing with it. So it's really an art form for me.
Yeah.
Um, the ones that I've designed, my business has, since we started, become primarily about 80% custom. So I've done a lot of custom work for people who love what I do and kind of take what I've done and turned it into something that matches them perfectly. So they're one of a kind designs. Um,
Yeah.
so
That
I
is
had
awesome.
someone take this one and she just wanted a little more pop. So we did a darker blue trim,
Mhm.
same fabric, just a darker blue trim. Um, so just, just letting people really dream up whatever they want because, like I said, it hadn't been done before. And that's the part that makes it hard though, because you were talking about scrolling Pinterest for ideas. Um, I don't do that. I just I scroll fabric stores online. I have the fabric stores that I work with. I just scroll and scroll. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what can I do with that? And some of them, like this fabric I love, but it wasn't able to be pleated in the
Mhm.
way like the traditional pleat. So we are actually the original home of the peekaboo lampshade. So that's what I call that. So we take two coordinating fabrics,
Mhm.
and if someone wants something that's not quite able to pleat, but they just love the look of it, we'll
Mhm.
take it. And there's three different panels of this snake pattern, and we just did the
Mhm.
pleats kind of outline it. So
That is I love
I
it.
love the
But
challenge.
that's a really cool way to get creative because you can really make it yours, right? So I think with every artist, it doesn't matter if it's photography or like, in your case, like sewing something, um, you
Mhm.
always want to find your style because I think long term you want to be known for something, right? Because everyone can be creative. But, I would imagine if you think like if someone ever thinks about lampshades, I want them to call me because they know that I am known for something, right? And I mean, the peekaboo, first of all, it sounds pretty cool, peekaboo lampshade. But also, I
It,
just love that, you can tap in so many different age groups, designs,
mhm.
styles.
Yeah,
It's really cool. And what I learned from you in our previous conversations is not every lampshade has to be see-through in terms of, when the light is on. Like it's also like a cool ambiance light if just the light is coming down on the bottom or on the top. I wasn't even aware of that. That's
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
logical, but I wasn't even thinking about that. That is so cool. So
Yeah.
I was teasing a little bit before that you got your mom involved too. And I would love to talk about that because normally we try to get away from our parents once we reach a certain, not like away,
Yeah.
but like kind of like, yeah, I want to do my own thing. And you got your mom in the
Mhm.
business. So tell us about that.
Yes.
How's that working?
It's working great. She's just so excited about everything. She is that little voice that's like, "Hey, I don't know. Let's slow down on this. Let's pump the brakes here." So she's that little voice of reason. But for the most part, she is just so supportive. Um, and that's one of the reasons I brought her on. She is 67, 67. Yeah, she
Mhm.
turned 67 this year. So she's from that very cautious generation of not knowing how things are going to work out, just very, very cautious.
Mhm.
And I completely respect it. But when this idea and this business kind of came to me, I was hesitant to share it with her because I just knew she was going to pump the brakes on it and just, well, Ashlee, I don't know, let's just go slow. But
Mhm.
when I mentioned it to her, she was like, yeah, I think it's great. So I was
You're
like,
like,
oh,
"What?"
wow. Oh, okay. Maybe I might be onto something because she is that one that's going to think it through this way, that way, up, front, forwards, backwards. But she was all in and she thought it was great and she really wanted to be a part of it. She loves design, just like I do. She just balances me out. So she's the personality part of
Mhm.
our little partnership. And I am more of the behind the scenes worker. I'm the face of it, obviously, because I'm here. We live in separate states. So it makes it hard for her to be a part of things like this when I do them. But when we do things together, she is the voice. She is the one out there talking to people, telling them about it. And I just kind of sit back and let her go.
That is
So
awesome.
she's that shoulder of support that I have. So I guess she would be what, and like an honorary type partner.
Okay, also, I think I would see
Yeah,
maybe as a business partner slash mentor that is like the closest you can get, right? Not only like you don't have to sell yourself or sell your idea. She knows you, obviously. And I honestly think that it could maybe also have something to do with the kind of business you have. If you would have come and said, like, I'm building a social media or a Bitcoin business, she's like, I have no clue what that is. But
right.
the lampshade business. Oh, look, my neighborhood's going crazy. Um,
Mhm.
so I think the lampshade business, I think, is something that it honors craftsmanship, and I think she's coming from a generation where this was the only thing they had, right? It's not obviously it goes online because that's what you do nowadays, but it's still
Yeah.
it's based on something practical that you can touch, you can see the
Yes.
results. Like if you sit on your sewing machine for 3 hours, then you have something or not, but there is something you did. And maybe that's
Mhm.
the understanding more of like that generation. You put work into it and then you can see something at the end of the day, hopefully.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And she's that part of the business because like I have the blog, and I have the social media aspects of the
Yeah.
business. That part of it, she's just lost. She's
Mhm.
like, what is this? What are you writing? What is it for? She's focused on this here.
Yeah.
So, she pushes me in all the right spots.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I would love to pick up on something you just said. You have the blog. And so I think for a lot of brands, it is a big topic. How the heck do we do the marketing? Because, just posting on social media reels and like, you know, is a way to do it, but you have to have something to talk about, right? So I would like to know, how are you including storytelling, not only via your blog, but what are you talking about? Like how are you doing like tutorials on how to do lampshades or how to find fabrics, or what is it that you use as a channel to inform your audience?
yes. So right now I'm writing it's very informational. Um, Sometimes it branches out to the design industry a bit generically and just how the lampshades fit into that.
Mhm.
I know I did one on maximalism, grand millennial style, because that's what these fit into. So the different styles of decor that these fit into. And if you're a minimalist, how do you make this fit into your decor without it being overboard? Fabric choices. I did one on fabric choices, how to pick the right fabrics and what you get from them, the different opacities that you'll get. How much lighting will you get if you choose this one, and the ambient lighting. So just really things that people, I feel like, need to know that they didn't know they needed. I'm currently working on an ebook specifically on lighting. And the more I'm writing it, I've noticed there's nothing really out there. Lighting is just such an afterthought. And for me,
They
it
see
was
it in
always,
photography. They probably consider it in photography, but never would, no one would think about lighting lampshades.
how
Well, yeah.
important it is. Yeah, yeah. Just how important it is just in creating a room, creating a
Mhm,
space. So that's what the ebook is. It has a lot of topics that I've covered in the blog, but also just a lot more in depth on
mhm.
creating the perfect spaces with different types of lighting, not just lampshades, but how they play into your overhead lighting and your task lighting and all those things. Because I've always said lighting is the jewelry of the home. I've been in so many homes and they're big and they're beautiful and they have these great floor plans, but they all have the same lighting because they were afterthoughts and the builders just threw up some lights to get it
Light
passed
in
from
there.
inspection. Yeah, and it's like, and people typically don't change them, but just to change a light, how much that can do for a space, whether you're adding lighting or changing lighting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Well,
is my
we see it
goal
already
is
at Christmas time, right? There's a reason why we love
to,
Christmas trees because of the lights
yes.
they give, like they fit in the room perfectly. And it's just like you have to see like the
Yeah,
whole picture, not just, have light to see something. It's, you know,
absolutely. Yes. Yes. It doesn't have to be just functional.
yeah.
Obviously it is functional, but it can be beautiful as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's move over a little bit to your production. So you said before everything, or like nowadays, you work a lot with like on demand, not on demand. How did you say customized? Like
Custom, yes.
custom,
Custom
yes.
or bespoke shade,
Um,
yes.
yeah. Made to order. There you go.
Yes.
So tell me about how your production works. So let's assume I am building my house and I have
Mhm.
like 5 rooms, different rooms, obviously. I have a living room, I have a nursery, I have a movie room or something. And I'm coming to you and say, look, I need to design something. What can you do for me? What are your time frames, like production timeline? Like how does this work? How do you walk a client through the orders?
Well, typically what I'll do is find out exactly, obviously, where you're designing for, what rooms you're designing for, and what do you have in mind? Do you want me to take the reins on the design and just bring you some colors that you might like? I've had one customer, she was very specific. She was designing lamps in remembrance of her mother. She designed a pair of lamps in remembrance of her mother. Um, so with her, we wrote down, we got all of her information. I sourced the fabric for her. Um,
Mhm,
so we go through sourcing the fabric. I bring her samples of whatever, everything that I think fits what she wants. If she doesn't
mhm,
want it, I source some more. Um,
mhm,
and so then once she came up with the design, it took for the pair of lamps, I quote 2 to 4 weeks for a custom project,
mhm,
just to make sure I can get the fabric in depending on where it's coming from. Sometimes I can get the fabric quickly. Sometimes it takes a little longer. I have some fabric that comes from Italy and the UK and, overseas. So it may take a little longer to get here. And then I have customers. I worked with an interior designer. He brought everything. He had everything ready. He knew exactly what he wanted. Um, so it took 1 to 3 weeks for him because I didn't have to do a thing but put them together.
like
So he had
here are
a
the puzzle
design.
pieces, you just do your magic.
Just do it. Yes, just get it together. Do it with your magic, like you said. So it really just depends on the customer. So production never takes any longer than the 4 weeks. Again, it just depends on fabric availability, how many they want. Usually it's like a pair. Um, and so, but other than that, I just get straight to work depending on how much. It also depends on how long it takes us to figure out your design.
Mm-hmm.
So with
Well, I think that
her,
is probably a
it
challenging
took,
part, to have people know what they want, right? It's like, this is
mhm,
more
yeah,
like, yeah, I want a lampshade. Okay, so we're not done yet. Like, I want to know
yes,
exactly
exactly.
made. They could change their minds, or like, say like, no,
Mhm.
maybe I just described it wrong, or you didn't get my vision or whatever. So you really have to nail it down to a T to make them happy.
Yeah. And I had a customer, she had a nursery. And she had her own fabric. I didn't have to source fabric. She provided her own fabric, but she thought she wanted it designed one way. And I gave her my professional opinion, and she did some research and she said, okay, let's do my fabric your way. Turned out
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. So
Awesome.
I'm always going to, obviously, because it's a reflection of me and my work, I want to make sure that we put it together in the best way
Mhm.
possible, the best
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
possible.
So one question that comes up for me every time when I hear about customized brands or designs, how do you scale that? Is that even a topic in your world? Because you obviously just have 24 hours a day. You can't just do so much. Like, what's your plan with that?
It's not all I have family members that are always like, "Oh, you should go on Shark Tank." I'm like,
Yeah.
well, no, this is not really one of those kinds of businesses
Well, you
that
have to do
is
thousands and
scalable in
thousands of
that way.
lampshades. Can you do that?
Exactly. Just not, yeah, it's not a scalable business in that regard. As far as scaling, as far as your customer base and word of mouth, that's
Mhm.
primarily what I'm working for.
Mhm.
Is not necessarily, obviously, I would love for the clicks and to buy the exclusive, the ones that are already designed, but I really do enjoy working with customers one on one and helping them kind of put together a vision. So just that word of mouth, getting out, and being an exclusive brand. I do want to be an exclusive brand. Um, I don't have current, I hesitate saying this, but I don't have current aspirations to be like in a big box store or anything. I do want to maintain the exclusivity of the business and the brand, and just kind of go with the word of mouth and get it out there and have more of a client base that just, this is who we go to for this
Mhm.
type
So
thing.
you will scale by price per project, not by amount of project.
Yes,
Yes. So you
yes,
will be the
yes.
Gucci in the lampshade business.
Boom, you got it. That's
See?
exactly, yeah. That's the goal. That's the
Yeah,
goal.
and it's fair enough, that's what I mean. Honestly, I think all of, or not all of them, but then most of those creative business, they do it because that's their superpower. They have the creativity, and I feel if you go mainstream with your designs, and yeah, your designs might still be cool, but then they're starting to copy it someday, which is
Mhm,
it's given, right? And that takes
it's
away
gonna
from your
happen.
quality and from your exclusivity, and then
Yeah.
just one of many. Like, now you're maybe the first or one of the first, but at some point they
Mhm.
will come and say like, look, what Ashlee is doing is so cool. We want to do that too. And then sooner or later you will see those lampshades at IKEA. And then that's just like, kind
Yeah.
of like bullshitting with with your creativity,
Yeah.
which would be,
It
yeah,
was
it would be horrible.
it was funny. I went to I participated in the New York Now trade show this summer in August, and one of the vendors was from like the, I guess, the production companies over in China, where they make all the stuff and then ship it. Um, and I was talking to him and he was like, oh, well, because I told him I wasn't interested. And he was like, oh, well, we can, you know, do the fabrics, the same fabrics you have. And I'm like, the same fabrics because I know where I get my fabrics. And he was like, well, what we'll do is we take the fabrics that you want and we replicate them
Mm-hmm.
and
There
put them
goes the
on
copycat.
and send them. I said, yeah, I said, no, no, thank you. I'm not interested because I want to build a brand that I would buy from.
Mm-hmm.
And that would mean a lot to me. So that's really how I try to run the business as far as my correspondence with how I treat my customers, how I deal with customers, um, things I allow and don't allow are things that I would want somebody to do for me. So
Yeah. I honestly
I'm going to
think
stick with
I think that
handmade.
that's a very brave move. It's I think honestly it's very brave because you know, as young entrepreneurs we tend to, you know, go for the golden shiny coin. You know, like everyone wants to be big in business, and you maybe, you know,
Yeah,
depending on what your goal
yeah,
is, maybe you want to sell your business at some point and say like I just want
yeah,
to go to Panama and lay on this on the beach all day, right? But
yeah.
you know, if you want to, and I see this most of the time with people who want to leave a legacy, who really want to build
Mhm.
something that sustains over years and years and years. And maybe your daughter or, you know, one of your kids wants to take over at some point, which, you know, I think is a pretty cool business thing because it's timeless. There will always be
Yes.
lamps. There will always be design.
Yeah.
This is nothing that goes away. So
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully we can branch out into some other things within the home interior realm of things, the accessories. Um, but yeah, right now this is my thing, and this is what I love, and I have a passion for it, and I get excited about it still. So yeah,
that's that's a good point. Getting excited about it.
to still yes,
It's still that's a good reason to stick with
yeah.
it. So right now, are you still
Mhm.
working? Or I think you mentioned before, like you're still working on your, not on your kitchen counter, obviously, but you have like a home studio, like an atelier where
My
you're,
office, yeah,
yeah, where you
I have an
can get
office
away
and a
from the
big
kids and like leave me
walk-in
alone.
closet. Yes. Yep, got my closet of hanging fabrics everywhere that if I just need to get away and be with my fabrics sometimes
Oh, I
with the
remember
three
you
little
told,
ones running
yeah,
around.
in the I think the first call we had, I think you told me that you have a closet, like we other ones have like a, you know, walk-in closet and they have all their stuff. Like yours is full with fabrics. I would love to see that.
Top shelf, bottom shelf, just fabrics.
That's so cool. I
Yes,
love
the
it.
things that make me happy.
Yeah. So what does your husband think about this? Is he like, you finally found your thing, or I don't know, would
Uh,
you want to join at some point?
could not do this without him. He is my number one cheerleader.
Oh.
He is so excited about it. and and he's honest with me. If he's very honest, so if I design something and he's like, "Ugh, I don't like it. I don't like it at all." But for the most part, he is just 1,000% Ashlee. Do it. I'm so proud of you. Um, he does. I think he would join me one day, if we got to that point. He does enjoy it. He enjoys seeing me do something that I'm passionate about. Um,
Well, that's what they
because,
say, happy wife, happy life, right?
yes, yes, exactly. So he enjoys the passion that I have for it.
Mhm.
And he just supports it 1,000%. So
I love it.
could not do this without him.
Love it. Well, I think it's a very important part. Like I mean, it starts only like with, are you able to talk to him about this, right? Because like, yeah, they could be maybe supportive, but you know, there's like some let's say couples, they are like, I cannot talk to my husband about it because he does not understand what I'm
Yeah,
doing. And you know, then it's kind
right.
of, if he doesn't have a clue, but he sees at least you're happy and he lets you roll with it, right? Then that means for an entrepreneur itself a lot because you want to
Yes.
you don't always have to hear the praise. You don't always need people to
Yeah.
understand what you're doing, but being accepting goes a long way.
Mhm. It
And
does. It really,
yeah,
really does.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ashlee, thank you so, so much for being so open. I could ask you many more questions, but we're already at 15 minutes. And so
All right.
Tell us where we can find more about your brand, your website. Are you on socials? Do you have anything coming up, any pop-ups, trade shows where we could see your art live or meet you in person?
Not in the immediate future, no pop-ups or anything right now. But online, we're at admirallandingsdesigns.com. Instagram, we're there at Admiral Landings, and Facebook, we're on Admiral Landings Designs. And I'm on Pinterest too. I'm not super active on Pinterest, like I should be.
Inspiration
You know, the
part.
social media hoop. Yeah, the social media hoops. I'm still working on that. So I dive in on the two I'm familiar with the most. So
Yeah.
we are there. Yeah, hopefully a trade show in April at High Point. So
That's awesome. Well, we
yes,
will be updated on your website, I figure.
yes.
I
Oh, absolutely.
also that's also probably the point where we could get in touch with you if we want to design our home with new lampshades. So,
Yep,
if,
everything is there.
yeah, awesome. Well, Ashley, thank you so much. This was really fun. I love your designs, and if I ever move, we actually just renovating 2 rooms in our house. So,
Okay.
maybe it's a nursery
Yep. You
or
don't have to move. You get whatever you have. We can do whatever you want.
that's good. That's good to know. I just have to talk to my husband and see if he lets me do whatever I want because that's the problem. Like, don't do it too
Right.
much. Okay, well, Ashley, thank you
Yeah.
so much. This was really fun. I hope you have a great evening. And people, if you want to know more about her, go visit her website, her socials, and check out her designs. She does really, really great work, as you can already see in her beautiful background.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved every minute of it.
Likewise, thank you.